Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Welcome back. Let's continue.
But you will never accept it, not to others, not to yourself, that the thing is your God. The Vedas just honestly accept. They say, okay, fire is so important, it gives us protection. Think of those times. Think of those times. Fire used to be so important, and fire used to be the vehicle for fulfillment of so many desires: food, protection, illumination. Come on, everything. Plus, man was not entirely savage by the time we came to the Rig Veda. There was a fair degree of civilization. So we had started dealing with metals. We had started getting into construction. And in all of that, fire played an important role. Even medicines. Fire was needed for all of that. So fire fulfills so many desires. So what do? I'll say fire is God.
I mean, they did worship fire. They worship the skies, they worship the underworld, the afterlife.
Fire is God. Now that's very, very innocently honest, is it not? Cute. I wish we had the honesty to simply say Mother Pizza. Because that's how it is for many of us. No? Is it not? In the dead of the night, you are worshipping her, invoking her, dialing her up. And then that Farishta from, yes, comes with the word of the goddess and whispers in your ear, Margarita. And that's the mantra. We are not honest enough to accept that these things are our gods and goddesses, no? Look at someone, I mean, if he were honest, he should be found worshipping the pillow. The pillow should be hoisted, hung from the roof or something, ceiling. And offerings should be made, please. Because the pillow is where this fellow's desires are most fulfilled.
Dreams?
We are hypocrites in that sense. There we said there is a certain innocence. They said, if we get our sustenance from sun, we will worship sun. And that's so fair. No? They could see that everything is coming from the sun. So why not worship the sun? And then when you honestly devote yourself to whatever you think is fulfilling your desire, and only then is when disillusionment can set in. Why do we not get disappointed fully? Why are our hopes not and never dashed fully? Because we never commit ourselves fully to the object of our desire. We are smart people. We'll chase something and yet not admit to ourselves that we are chasing that thing. In comparison, the Vedic seers are extremely innocent and very honest. So they say, no, the cow is giving us so much. We'll worship the cow. Simple. You also extract so much from the cow, but you don't really worship the cow, do you? Some plant is giving them something. There is the somras, which is most probably a drink of intoxication, but it used to give them pleasure. The same kind of dopamine rush that you also rush for. And they said, no, it's a wonderful thing. There are so many mantras praising just the Somras. You prepare it this way and then you offer it to Indra, and Indra would be just delighted. And after Indra is delighted, you can have it.
I'm a little bit lost in this part. He's talking about a lot of like worshiping and how is it perhaps ridiculous it is, or perhaps in our earlier years as before well, before I don't know what, before we realized maybe gods don't necessarily exist, that it's innocent honesty. Like it's like you were saying, like if we worship, if the sun provides us sustenance, then we worship the sun. It's innocent honesty. At least it's honest, because the reason why you worship it is because it's actually providing you something. I'm trying to piece together what he's trying to point out here. I'm guessing, and here this is the assumption I just thought of as I was saying that, is that is the issue here that we worship things, but it provides nothing, kind of like you worship Agni. I'm not sure. You just worship it and ask it for something that it could provide, but it doesn't. Is that what he's trying to point out here? I mean, this is bhakti yoga in a lot of sense. I know in one of the videos there's a guy that talked to him about um, his mother. One of the audience members talked about his mother was able to recover quickly after someone passed away in their family. She attributed it to essentially a deity, like she said, now he's in God's hands, or something along those lines, where she knew that, in a sense, that a deity is going to take care of them, and that she's okay. And he kind of made it seem like I can't remember. So you have to watch it. I don't remember the video. I'm sorry, but it seemed like he's not very much a follower of Bhakti Yoga. I've asked that question. I don't believe anyone's asked. Don't believe anyone's answered the question. Is he against it, or is he just not a follower of it? I'm not sure. Again, so this kind of brings this up, especially here, where you know saying if you worship the sun because the sun's providing for you, that's honesty. If you worship fire because it's providing for you, that's innocent honesty. It's cute, as he says. Is he getting at the fact that we're worshiping idols or things, but it's providing nothing in return, and that's a bit ridiculous? Is that what he's trying to say? Hopefully, he does answer it towards here, but I'm asking this now because it came up to my mind.
You getting it? We hide. We pretend. They don't hide. They don't pretend. And that is also the reason why some of the mantras, they have been used by detractors to present the Vedas as abominable. They say, you see what kind of stuff is being talked of here. Because there are references even to sexual activity in a very innocent way, in a very childlike way. So people come and say, you see, these are the Hindus' religious scriptures, and they are talking of sex in this way. No, they are talking of everything that is there in the Prakritic universe. So they are talking of sex also. Because when you think of fulfillment, one of the directions you rush towards is sex. So they are talking of sex as well. They're talking of crops, they're talking of the soil, they're talking of the clouds and animals, forests, of course, rivers. I'm principally referring to the Rig Veda here, maybe because of recency effect. I am with the Rig Veda these days, so you're getting it. So that's a wonderful thing, a thing of honesty. You find yourself drawn to something, don't be a hypocrite. Just declare, I'm drawn towards this thing and I'm moving towards this thing. Only then will you meet disappointment. And without that disappointment, there can be no liberation. The reason why we are never liberated is because we double deal.
Hmm.
Are you getting it? You binge and then you fast. And that's why you will never stop eating the nonsense that invites you to binge. If that pizza or rasgulla or whatever is indeed so charming that it captures your entire mind, devote yourself fully to it. And then you will be liberated.
Hmm.
If money is something that you think will redeem you, go. 24 hours, eat, drink, think, sleep money. And then you will be liberated. Liberated not because you will earn enough of it, but because you will realize this is not that.
So you'll be liberated from the object that you desire?
And that kind of liberation seems to have happened in the process of the Vedas. You find that man or woman so fascinating. Go spend 24 hours. I mean, not only 24 hours. I mean, all 24 hours. Today's 24 hours as well as tomorrow's. Go spend 24 hours. And you will run. I mean, run away. Distance from the object of desire maintains the charm.
Hmm.
It's a very dirty trick. We never allow ourselves to know the object of desire fully. We at least postpone the knowledge. Sooner than later, that knowledge will come to you uninvited, unwanted. But we want to postpone it. And we postpone it to such a point that even when the knowledge comes, it's already too late. It's not that you will never learn the reality of that man or woman. But by that time, you'll already have 3 kids. Now, what can you do? It's too late to learn. And this thing that you're learning after 30 years, you could have learned in 3 days had you allowed yourself to ask the right questions. It could have been learned. Very simple. But those simple questions that can be asked over just an ordinary evening, it takes maybe 2 hours, 3 hours of a discussion. We do not let those questions be asked even over 3 decades. However, reality has a way of catching up with our nonsense. Facts will show up. But as we said, by that time it's too late. The rishis didn't allow it to get too late. They got into it fully. They said, we are doing it. As you say, I'm into it these days. So they were totally into Prakriti. I'm into Prakriti. And that's why they were redeemed. And even then it didn't happen over a fortnight or a month. The Rig Veda is understood to contain mantras that span many centuries. Minimum of 300 to 400 years. It could be longer. That's the kind of time disillusionment takes to come. Even to a person with honesty, innocence, and courage. And one lifetime is just maximum 100 years. So, how much time do you have? But we find enough time to deceive ourselves. There is not enough time even to honestly explore. How do you manage to have time to deceive yourself? Even if you get into honest inquiry, you might find even 100 years is a little too less. Even the fastest ones take several decades. How do you manage to just keep telling lies to yourself? And that includes everyone, me, you, we all stand at the same plane. Getting it? So the Vedas move on. They start with nature worship and then they move on. And it's such a tremendous moving on. The world has never seen anything like it. In fact, some people say that the Upanishads are against the Vedas. That magnitude of dissonance. They do not understand that the Upanishads would have been difficult to come to sans the Vedas. But indeed,
Real quick, um, this statement he says here, the Upanishads would be difficult to come to sans the Vedas. Let's go back to that real quick.
they do not understand that the Upanishads would have been difficult to come to sans the Vedas.
So the word sans here, I assume it means without. The Upanishads would have been difficult to come to without the Vedas, or without the knowledge of the Vedas, without the book of the Vedas. Maybe is that what it means? I've never heard the word sans used before. I've I've heard of like cosine and sine, and I think I've heard sans used in another context. I think, but I just want to make sure I fully understand what he's trying to say here. Let me know. So what the word sans here? I'm assuming it's without the Vedas. The Upanishad would be difficult to come to without the Vedas. And so when he means comes to, does it mean the Upanishads would have been difficult to create without the Vedas or understand without the Vedas? Like without the Vedas, the Upanishads would never exist? Or is it without the Vedas, the Upanishad would be very difficult to understand? I'm not sure what it means by comes to here. Because it could in my opinion mean both. So let me know.
But indeed, to be charitable to them, if you just read the mantras pertaining to nature worship, and then you go to some of the most philosophically acute verses of the Upanishads, you find no similarity. And therefore, one could be forgiven for thinking that the Upanishads actually oppose the Vedas. They really do not. There is an organic linkage. But the difference is similar to the difference that a newbie would find between, let's say, a piece of the root of a mango tree and fruit of the mango tree. Let's say there is someone who does not know the process of the mango tree. He does not know how the seed yields the whole tree. And to that person, you show a part of the root or a part of the gutli, the seed. And then you also show a full, luscious, ripe juicy fruit, and you say, you look at this and look at this, he will say, this is totally opposite of this. The root looks dry and dark. And this is full of bright colors, and there is such juice and aroma and flavor, and all that can attract you, and the root is so lifeless. That's a matter of appearance. The fact is that the fruit could not have come without the root. That's the relationship.
Oh, well, again, still tell me what I mean about the Upanishads and the Vedas there, just in case.
Are you getting it? The one thing that will again and again strike you about the Vedas is honesty. They don't pretend. And they give two hoots to what you will think about them. Like a naked child, totally naked. You feel scandalized looking at what he's doing. But he is the least worried. Looks at you and says, yeah, yeah. What? Yeah, you too have it hanging there. What are you gaping at? Get lost. I get it. Hypocrisy, self-deception, they nip the process right in the bud. You don't even get to start. If you'll not acknowledge your desires, how will you ever know your desires? And that's why I rate psychoanalysis so highly. Unearthing the content of the unconscious mind, where all your primitive and suppressed desires are lying. If you will not know that you have been desirous since ages, if you will not face, acknowledge, encounter your desires, there is no way of getting liberated from them. But social sanctions and religious morality, they prevent us from acknowledging that we desire so much and so many objects. No? What has morality taught you? Desire is evil. But that's not so in the case of the Rig Veda. Here you see the very dance of desire. Mother River, can I ask for one more thing? I'll worship you more, but please give me this thing. As I said, like a naked child, unafraid to ask, constantly inviting the gods, you please come, the feast is ready. And this time we have some special butter for you. Gods, please come. And they really believe that the gods are coming and enjoying the meals. And now that the gods are satisfied, they'll say, can I have one more wife? Not that it's just about asking for desires. There is philosophical content as well. The philosophy of the Upanishads couldn't have just suddenly exploded. You find the germs, the genesis of that philosophy in the earlier parts as well. But predominantly it's about desire fulfillment. As Sri Krishna says in the Gita, काम में कर्म, काम में कर्म. So the first part is about exploring desire, sakam, sakam. And then you come to the Upanishads, and that's about seeing desire and getting free of desire. That's nishkam. So that's a journey. You begin from sakamta and you come to nishkamta. Now, this does not mean that you have to run after your desires. Why? because you are already at the peak of your desires. Is there anybody here whose mind is not full of desires? So you don't need to add to the list of your desires. Because there have been teachers in the past who have advanced this argument. They have said, unless your desires get huge and big and they reach a critical mass and they explode, you will never be liberated. No, sir, you don't need that. Why? Because your desires have already reached a critical mass. You don't need to add to the mass that you have. We are already slaves of desire. But we like to hear when somebody says, you must pursue your desires. And at the peak of your desires, you will get desirelessness. So you say, fine. That's a good kind of sanction, a very liberative license. Let me consume more and more. And now even Guruji has allowed. Not Guruji, Babaji. I have him here. Getting it? I'm so sure that at least a few of you must have been wondering that, right, this session is telling me why I'm not advancing in my spiritual way, because I have not been running fully after my desires. No, you are already running fully after desires. You are just in a hypocritical way, not acknowledging. The difference between you and the seers of Rigveda is not that they were desirous and you are less desirous. The difference is that they were innocent and you are not. They were innocent, honest, and they just acknowledged that, yes, I do want protection. I do want a long life. I do want a disease-free body. I do want my clan, my tribe to expand. I do want victory over my adversaries. They acknowledged it, that they said, this is what I want. Interestingly, the initial parts of the Vedas do not talk of liberation. They do not say that I want. They say these are the things that I want.
I'm going to pause it right here. So, this one is a little confusing to me. So, in the past, let me see if I understand it correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like in the past, it seems to be acceptable because they didn't know any better. They acknowledge things for what it is, and it's okay. At least they were honest. And now, today, we are hypocrites because we know what we're chasing is our desires. And the only way to be liberated from it is to fully chase it and realize it. This one was a little bit of a tough one for me, I will say. Let me know what you guys think he is meaning in this particular part. I mean, again, at the very beginning, it was seems like bhakti yoga about worship of objects. It's cute, he says, and he said, but it was honest. It almost made it seem like we worship these things because they do provide these things, and it's the only thing they know. Whereas now we understand these things, they do provide, but not in the same way, I suppose. Because now we have the Vedas and the Upanishads, so we have an understanding of what's liberation, or what is God, I suppose. And then this last bit, Recognize the essential message of the Upanishads. I will start in this new segment 41, 35, 34. Essential message of the Vedic. Hypocrisy and desire and consequences. Liberation through fully experienced desire. Transition from rituals to Vedic knowledge. So essentially, he's trying to say that from Bhakti Yoga to Jnana Yoga, in some sense, like from rituals, worship to uh, knowing knowledge, knowing what you are not. Hypocrisy and desire and its consequence. Hypocrisy and its desire. Liberation through fully experiencing desire, and then liberation through fully experiencing desire, but then desire is hypocrisy, which is kind of strange to say that. Huh. Anyways, if you can help me out and answer the questions that I have, this is the end of this video, and hopefully there'll be just one more part to this. Hopefully one more part to this, and that'll be it. And hopefully I'll be able to understand a little bit more what he is trying to say here. So we will, in the next video, restart recognizing the central message of the Upanishads. So if you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, the sun down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next vid.